Good evening. Hi, my name is David Draper, and I'm Chair of Behavioral Sciences at Marymount California University. And I am very excited to welcome you to the university. I think you've made an excellent choice in schools. Marymount is a very special place. I've been there for 20 years, and it is a place that is fully dedicated to students and to their futures. So this evening, we're going to talk about the psychology program. I am chair of that particular program, and I'm very fortunate to have just a great group of faculty that are extremely dedicated to students. And this is a time when we're going to talk a little bit specifically about the program. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen, and we will get started. And here we go. What is psychology? Psychology, roughly speaking, is the science of human behavior. That's a broad definition. We seek to answer the questions: what makes people do the things that they do? How do they become the way that they are? What is mental illness? Where does it come from? These are the kinds of the things that we ask in this field. And in our particular program, as we study psychology, there is a graduate path and there is an applied path. And this sort of fits in with how psychology is in a professional standpoint. Marymount is very focused and prioritizes a student's eventual professional life. So we're very career oriented. And in psychology, there's two paths at the BA level. One is headed to grad school to become a counselor of some kind. That could be a social worker, that could be a marriage family therapist, that could be a psychologist. And about half of Marymount students do go on to grad school in our program. So that's the grad path, and that is set up for success as you take the next step into graduate school. The other path is a professional path into work, and we provide you the professional skills that you'll need to get that first job. And there are subfields of psychology. There's quite a few. These are just a few of the subfields, and we have courses in these areas, in all of these areas. So either a full course in one of these areas or as a part of another course. But these are just some of those subfields in psychology, just to give you an idea. A clinical setting where you're working with mental illness. Think in terms of a psychologist, for example. My doctorate's in clinical psychology, and that is all that goes into helping people become better when they have a diagnosis. There's a counseling psychologist, which is more focused on helping people generally, maybe not as focused on mental illness as it is relationships and that kind of thing. Developmental psychology maybe is working with children at a particular, with expertise at a particular age. Cognitive psychology is about our thoughts. Neuropsychology is about our brains and how they work. Rehabilitation, experimental is doing research. In these days of COVID-19, you're hearing a lot from health psychologists. They're doing the public health outreach, etc., related to the virus. Industrial organization is basically the psychology of the business environment. Forensic psychology, that CSI stuff that's so popular these days. Criminal profiling and things like that. School psychology, maybe a guidance counselor in K through 12. Social psychology, sports psychology is an up-and-coming field, very popular. We have a very popular course in that. And community psychology works with agencies and cities and towns looking to help certain populations in their community. What types of courses will you take on our program? Generally speaking, you're going to have an education core. That is your English course, that is your math course, religion, maybe a history, an art, that kind of thing. That's part of a liberal arts education. And your psych core. courses. There's about 12 of those courses I'll discuss in just a minute. That is the basics of the fields of psychology. Those require 12 courses. And then you're going to have some opportunities to take some electives just in an area that you might be interested in as well. And then lastly, I want to mention experiential learning, internships, practicum. We have several internships available. You could probably even design your own at some point. For example, you might work at Delamo Hospital and up to 12 units a semester sometimes, anywhere from 2 to 12, depending on what your needs are. You could work at a practicum on campus, maybe at the Wellness Center. And I want to give a shout out to Study Abroad. I'm a big believer in experiential learning in other cultures. And those study abroad courses will count for your psych degree, your psych BA. What the institution is after in terms of learning, what we want to give you, what we are skilled at giving you is the following, these 5 institutional student learning outcomes. We speak to employers, universities speak to employers. Employers tell us that you're sending incredible graduates, they're smart, they're dedicated, they're creative, but they could be better communicators. So what we do is we infuse our curriculum with more of that kind of thing. So written, verbal, digital presentation, etc. Secondly, analysis of quantitative data, technology tools, etc. Evaluation of competing options, recognition of different ways of looking at things, multiple perspectives, global awareness, and global responsibility. That's a part of every program at Marymount. And more specifically related to the psych program, what are we after? Again, those written, oral, and digital presentation skills, using technology, applying basic research methods in science. How do we know what we know? We know that through studies and through research, data analysis, and also understanding the major theoretical components of psychology, contemporary perspectives, to explain human behavior, how we got to be the way we are. Ethics, always. The psychological perspective as well, as it relates to other people, other races, ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, gender, sexual orientation, etc. And identifying experiences related to achieving your goals, your career goals specifically, right? And learning to collaborate with others. That's all very important to us, and all of our assignments, all of our work with students is related to those specific areas. Our required courses that you'll take, general psychology is what we call a survey course, and in that course, every chapter becomes a course later on in the program. So generally, you'll take general psych first semester, freshman year, maybe second semester. You'll get a feel for psychology. Then you go on to take abnormal psychology, psychopathology, mental illness, learning theories, how does the brain learn, cognitive processes about your thoughts, human development, how do people develop from infancy to old age, intercultural psychology, different cultural groups, personality theories, that's things like Freudian theory, behavioral theories, cognitive theories, physio psychology, which is neuroscience, that is about your brain. The most important instrument in your world is your brain. And we're only beginning to unlock the mysteries of the brain. Social psychology, statistics is our math course, research methods, and scientific writing. We're all about preparation for what comes next, the step after college, your professional life. And to that end, we have a very important course called Junior Seminar. Usually you take it junior year, not always, but it's in preparation for your senior year. So if you are headed to grad school, you want to become a psychologist, we actually have you apply to find the school that you want to go to and go through the application process, everything but submission of your application packet. We walk you through that whole process. We prepare you very well for that. And if you're headed to the work world, we're going to give you career skills, professional skills, and also job skills. There's a lot of focus on that as well. So we're going to go over your resume time and time again. We're going to give mock interviews with you and hone those interviewing skills. That's very, very important. So you will apply, you'll have your resume, you'll have your interviewing skills down all through that course. So once you get a degree, what can you expect to do with it, right? So you can be in a clinical setting in private practice, in hospital, in a clinic, in an educational setting. A lot of psych majors wind up in education, K through 12 schools, colleges and universities, such as a wellness center at a university. Or research settings. You can work for the government, laboratories, pharmaceutical companies, and all kinds of businesses. In the business setting, a lot of psych majors wind up in human resources, in the HR department, many times in sales, because psychology majors tend to be very good with people, tend to have empathic skills, tend to have emotional intelligence, which is a big part of our program. You can go into marketing, advertising, product research, personnel, training and development. There's really no end of what you can do in the business world with a psychology degree. More and more businesses are looking for psych majors, and they will train them on their technology or their product or whatever, but they want people to have that foundation of good interpersonal skills to begin with. And then you can work in social services. There's a new field called behavioral technology. And in that, you would work with, let's say, developmentally delayed or challenged children. You might work in substance abuse, forensics, social work, crisis intervention. There's a lot of work. This is a growing field. There's going to be a lot of work in, as population ages, more work in gerontology, more work specifically with the children as well. All across the job spectrum, there are going to be more jobs in this field. So it is a growing field. I did want to mention, just kind of wrap up real quickly, our faculty, Dr. Emma Oliver, Dr. Kevin Coachenda, Dr. Amy Lauer, Dr. Angelica Lopez, Professor Carlos Roa, and Dr. Virginia Wade. I am going to stop the slideshow and just thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening in today, and we will get to the Q&As.